values drive your business?
Well, the obvious one is balance, because it's really important, family and having the business, but getting everything in prioritized, because someone who's been family challenged for many, many years, with an elderly father and with my wife having family around the world, you kind of get the balance. You need to get the balance right. And as when family is right in front of you, it's front and center, and it's important. Let's get the priority.
Now let's be honest, because we are two pretty honest guys. How's that working for you this week?
Yes. Well, I sent William upstairs because he's at home, and Luann upstairs, so it's working really, really well for this hour of the day.
But you know what? You know what? Balance is just. I think sometimes it's the aspiration, isn't it? You know, it's never going to be completely balanced.
No, and it's not necessarily equal. And I think this is one of those things. It's like, it's not 50-50.
Yeah.
It's the what does balance look like right now? And it could be 80% in the business in the week. And the key then is to actually communicate it. The other bit for me is around key ones are like compassion. And I think that's really important especially when you're dealing around family and you're talking around personal aspects of life and everything else. I think it's really important to recognize that not everybody's aware of everything. People have their own challenges, and actually they are their challenges, and it's there to be supportive with them, rather than, I think one of the things I always talk about finance is to use your judgment, not be judgmental. So when they're asking for help, they're asking for you to use your judgment to help them, not for you to sit in judgment on them. And I think we have to be that. And the other one is, we share the one around fun, but also personal growth, and that is that personal growth comes long before business growth. And I say this to my kids around their own personal growth. Before you want to learn all these things and grow all your knowledge around your schoolwork and everything else, you have to recognize that you don't know the answer to the question that's been posed, and therefore you have to learn. And I think if you take it from that perspective, it moves forward. And the other one, obviously, why we're sitting here today, is collaboration. I am a massive one of working with others, and I say this to the kids: the more you do together, and that's Kit and the school is a good example of this. They don't encourage teamwork, and the most important thing that you can do is work together as a team.
No, you've got to find ways to work together. I mean, the reason we're doing this is because we share a lot of those values.
Yeah, we do.
And number one, we're going to have a little bit of fun along the way, which is always important to me. But mine are very similar, actually. So my one is fairness. So you talk about that transparent communication. I think that's important for us to have that with our clients, have it with our kids, and have it with our partners. I don't think, if I'm being perfectly frank, I don't think I'm always amazing at doing it with Cassie. I'm probably better doing it with the kids and the clients, and that work with a partner bit is a bit of a work in progress consistently. But I think that's probably the same for everybody. The fairness is really important to me. Fun is super important. So you know what? Why spend, particularly if you run your own business, X amount of hours a week doing stuff you're not going to enjoy? When we sit down and engage with a client, our job is to make sure that they get to a point where they are getting up in the morning and doing what they love or doing what they like. And I think we've got a bit of an obligation to go, you know what, this is, we live that life. We try, and not always perfect, but we always try and get to a point where we're having a good time doing it. And certainly stuff like this, I absolutely love. And then my development one is focus on improvement. So I suppose there's two stories I've got on that. I sponsor a local literary festival every year in Havering, and I just get the opportunity to present, speak to authors. Mark Billingham, who's a crime writer. I got the opportunity to have a really good chat with him a couple of years ago, and introduce him at an event and do all that sort of stuff. So basically, Raymond, it's an excuse for me to speak to interesting people. That's the reason we sponsor it. but there was a guy there called Bobby Seagull. Now, Bobby is a teacher.
Okay.
He still works at a local comprehensive in East London, and he is a maths teacher, and he's also been on TV quite a lot. So he was on University Challenge. He does Monkman and Seagull tours and like sort of, you know, all sort of stuff about learning and education. And what I got to introduce him, took Charlotte along, and a lot of the stuff that he talked about was about growth mindset.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in that element of you never ever stop learning, and it starts with that attitude that you've always got more to learn. You know, you're always in a position where you've got more to learn. But I'd certainly recommend you pick up Bobby Seagull's book, because he talks about growth mindset a lot in that, and he's a lovely guy. So yeah, but the problem was, while Bobby was speaking, because the kids had heard me talk about growth mindset loads, I'm sort of nudging Charlotte. She went, "I know, Dad. I know you've only been talking about it for 5 years." So growth mindset, I think, you know, focus on improving, and I think particularly for business owners, what we see is sometimes that level of stagnation is when people think they've got it sussed. You know, when people think they've got to a point where they know what they're doing. And it's that element of continuous development that's important to us, typically important to our clients, but certainly important to our kids. And then the other one is do well, do good.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we're lucky enough to have opportunities in our life, and we'll certainly have a conversation about purpose at some point today, what do we do to help others? And what do we do to support others in a way that potentially uses our skills or doesn't? You know, I'm a big advocate of kindness. I think kindness as a trait is, you know, it's not very 80s business where greed was good, but I believe that you can really, really run a good, profitable commercial business and help other people.
Yes, completely.
Those two things. And then I think those values mean that when I get up in the morning, I'm loving life. I'm loving what I do, and I do it with an enthusiasm that hopefully benefits my business. What do you think the problem is with not being clear on your values and bringing it to your family or business?
Well, I wonder how many have values, truly have values, and then and find this with the children, part of it is actually them being true to them and being authentic with them, because too often, and in this house, if you move just a little bit away from what would be considered to be what you're talking about, you get plenty of, "Excuse me, Daddy, I'd just like to talk to you about something." Yeah, that's not quite how it works. Okay, all right, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay. So I think there's an element of, and also I don't think we talk about values particularly a lot, and I don't know whether you find this, with family. So in business, it's almost become it almost feels a bit antiseptic because it's a health check thing. Or does the company have values? It's not really necessarily a heart and soul type thing within a business. I still don't think it is even today, even though the world is changing and moving in that direction.
I mean, I think that's a really interesting comment. And I was a little bit cynical about values for a long time, because the first time I had conversations about values, and certainly there's loads of big businesses who do get it right, my corporate experience told me values was something you put on a wall and ignored.
Yeah.
But when it's your own business, values are a completely different conversation, I think.
Yes.
Because it you know, they're what you believe.
And more often than not, they are the owner's values first, right?
Yeah.
So people see immediately what you believe and what resonates most with you, and whether you are consistent with those. And I think people are more on the lookout. I know here in this family, if we talk about, well, it was a conversation over lunch earlier, so we talk about fun, and Luann, my wife's sort of looking at me going, and I take it you really are enjoying things at the moment, aren't you? And I'm like, no. Well, you keep telling us we should all be having fun, and there you are. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You don't need to say any more.
I think they need to be a little bit more compassionate.
That would be, that would be my family being compassionate. We are doing this in the right way for the right reasons.
But you know, the important thing for me is there's no perfection, is there? Do you know what I mean? Perfect is this fallacy that, you know, I think in business we've got an obligation to talk about how damaging that can be, particularly because it's Mental Health Week. You know, as we're recording this, you know, is perfection the thing that sometimes holds us back?
Yes, and I think that's, not to be sexist about this, that's a real big man problem as well. I'm not saying it's not a female challenge. No, it's a male energy challenge.
Yeah, I agree. I've literally, I mean, Cassie and I, because as you know, I run the business with Cassie, my wife. Cassie and I have just literally come off another call with a new professional introduced to the business that we're going to start to work with, and she's a lawyer who we're going to work with. And interestingly, Cassie and her were far better at having really open, honest, empathetic conversations than I am. So I do think it's a man thing. I do.